In this video, I will be telling the story of Sylvanas Windrunner. I hope you will enjoy the video, and let's get started. Early life. Not much is known about Sylvanas before the first Horde invasion. We know that she comes from the Windrunner family, and that she has two sisters. Her older sister is Ilaria Windrunner, who joined the alliance of Lordaeron in their battle against the first Horde invasion. She also one of the few that stepped through the Dark Portal after the Horde's second invasion to try and prevent the Horde from invading different worlds. And she fell in love with the human paladin Turalian, and they made the ultimate sacrifice of closing the Dark Portal on Draenor's side to prevent Azeroth from being destroyed. And many believed that the Alliance expedition was gone forever. However, that changed when the Dark Portal reopened, leading to the events of Burning Crusade. Ilaria and Turalian were still missing, though, and left no leads on how to find them in Outland. Her younger sister, Varisa, is an Elven Ranger, first met her husband when she was sent on a secret mission to help him, the human mage Ronan. They would eventually assist with the liberation of the Queen of Dragons and Aspect of Life. Alex Straza growing closer during their mission. Ronan would later become the leader of the Kirin Tour, and they would get together and have two children. However, tragedy would destroy their happiness as Ronan died during the bombing of Theramore, sacrificing himself to save many lives. He even managed to push Jaina into a portal before the explosion ran out of control, saving her life. Ronan's death would have a significant impact on Varisa and by extension Sylvanas, but we'll get to that later on. Sylvanas describes herself as very vain when she was young. She was beautiful, even for high elf standards, and she was a skilled hunter, the most promising one in her family. And this skill, this talent, would earn her the title of Ranger General of Silvermoon. Sylvanas was the commander of all of Quel'Thalas's military forces, and would have her first appearance in the lore during the first Horde invasion. At that point, the Horde had already taken Stormland and were on their way to conquer Lordaeron. Inuin Lothar took as many of his people as he could across the sea to warn the kingdom of Lordaeron about the Horde and get a fighting force going. His effort caused the nobles of Lordaeron to form the Alliance of Lordaeron, including many kingdoms in the northern lands of Eastern Kingdoms, including Lordaeron and Arathi. First Horde invasion, the Arathi Kingdom had a close relationship with the High Elves of Quel'Thalas, as they aided the High Elves many years ago during the Troll Wars, forging a bond between them. However, the High Elves did not see the Horde as a threat to their lands. They relied on their magic to defend their own home, and they only send a token force to aid the Alliance to fight the Horde back. Ilaria Windrunner disagreed with her leader's choices and volunteered to join the token force in the war against the Horde. She believed that the Horde could be a threat to all of the world's centrists, and not just the humans. And she would be proven right. During their fight, the Horde eventually decided to march upon the kingdom of Quel'Thalas, leading Ilaria to want to run back home and warn her kin, but Trelion kept her in line. There was no way that she would make the trip back home on her own, even though Turalyon himself wanted nothing more than to warn them about the upcoming threat. However, to defeat the Horde, they had to be smart and stick together. Part of the Alliance marched to Quel'Thelas, as the Horde had already begun their assault. The Trolls had been enemies with Elves for centuries, making them ally with the invading Orcs. From the trees, they swooped down, taking out the Trolls as the Horde made ready for a full assault. Once the Alliance arrived, they could see that fires had spread across the forest and that the Horde had already begun their assault. Turalyon wanted to work together with the Elves and coordinate their attacks, so he sent Alleria as a courier back to Quel'Thelas to communicate with the High Elves as the Alliance kept the Horde busy. Alleria first ran into her sister Verisa as a pack of trolls dropped down on top of them. The trolls outnumbered them, but they didn't know the forest as well as Verisa knew. Together they ran to a stream. The trolls got close to catching them, but as they nearly grabbed them, they were shot down by Sylvanas and her troops. Alleria took one of the trolls' head with her as she met with the council to convince them of the dangers right at their borders. At first, the council didn't want to listen, but when they saw the head, they knew that her words were true. Her king, an Astarian Sunstrider, was outraged that the trolls dared to invade their lands, and he now committed the full might of the High Elves' military forces to the Alliance. Led by Sylvanas and her second-in-command, Lord Theron, the High Elves and the Alliance crushed the Horde between their two forces combined. Things were looking up as their plan was working, but the Horde was no pushover. They released Ogre Magi and even started using Dragonfire against their enemies, and the Alliance could not stand that strength. Ultimately, Quel'Thelas was just a setback, not being the primary focus of the Horde, sort of like systems. They had set their eyes upon the capital city of Lordaeron, discovering that Turalyon was forced to take their troops and chase the Horde before they could take the heart of the Alliance. Sylvanas and her people still had their magic and assembled to protect them. Not even dragons were able to penetrate those defenses, so for the moment their people would be safe. The Horde lay siege to capital city, and they would have won the war in a day or two, was it not for Gul'dan. Gul'dan split his forces away from the Horde, which forced Doomhammer to send his troops after Gul'dan to take revenge upon this traitor. In the meantime, the Alliance had also cut off the Horde's route of reinforcements, and Turalyon, Sylvanas, Alleria, and all the might of the High Elven army started to assault the Horde forces as they tried to siege the city. These events forced Doomhammer to retreat all the way back to the Black Rock Mountain. The Alliance followed the Horde as the High Elves made sure to clean their forests of the trolls. Not a lot of details are known about this fight, but we do know that Sylvanas lost a lot of her people to the Horde's invasion, a lot of her family, including her little brother Lirath. At seeing the destruction that the Horde had caused in their lands, Alleria devoted herself to killing every single orc that she could find. Unlike her sister, Sylvanas had her forces to lead as they cleaned up their lands from the trolls. Due to their alliance during the war, Sylvanas decided to allow a human to join the ranks of her force riders. Naphanos Maris became the first and last of the human ranger lords, despite her people objecting against this. Sylvanas didn't care what her people said. Not even Kael'thas Sunstrider was able to force her to send Naphanos away. And all these decisions from the rational Ranger General of Quel'Thala's have some fans speculating there was more behind that decision than just skill, but that's purely speculation from the fans. Second Horde invasion, years later when the Dark Portal opened up a second time and the Horde returned for a second invasion, Sylvanas did not join the Alliance expedition. Her older sister, Ilaria, did decide to join the troops, but before she left, she sent out her friend, Verana, to bring a gift to her sisters. Ilaria realized that there was a big chance that they would never return, so she wanted her sisters to have something to remember her by, from a necklace given to her by her parents. She made 3 lockets, an emerald, a ruby, and a sapphire with an inscription for her sisters. Verana told Ilaria that she would keep the necklaces safe until Ilaria would return and she could give them herself. But as we know, Ilaria wouldn't return from her expedition and the gifts were delivered to her sisters.